Fall fashion's in full swing, and it's time to save big at Old Navy. Right now, get up to 50% off store-wide on your favorite dresses, pants, and tops. Plus, all jeans are on sale from $15 now at Old Navy. Valid 9/23 to 10/2, select styles only.
Blog Talk Radio.
In the U.S., February is Black History Month, and it's also Valentine's. And Valentine's Day was on the 14th, so we have a lot of ground to cover. Our guest today is Horane Smith. He's an award-winning author of 8 published novels. His most popular novel, and first novel, as a matter of fact, was called Lover's Leap. And if you are in Jamaica, you know the story of Lover's Leap. It's a tourist attraction based on the legend in 1999. Since that time, he has written on subjects ranging from slavery to piracy and from adventure tourism to reggae music. He's the first recipient of the Burla Awards for his outstanding contribution to African, Caribbean, and North American literature. He is also recognized among the top 100 outstanding Jamaicans by the Jamaican Diaspora Foundation in Canada. His contribution to Jamaican literature, his 6th novel, Dawn at Lover's Leap, is the sequel to the original Lover's Leap and was the finalist in the 2006 USA Book News Best Book Award for Historical Fiction. He has other popular novels, including Underground to Freedom, Port Royal, 7 Days in Jamaica, Reggae Silver, and the latest Maroons in Nova Scotia, a story of the Jamaican Maroons in Canada. Horane Smith's website is Horane Smith, and as usual, my co-host, Chris Daly. He is a blogger at Jamaicans.com, Me Thinking Are You. So take it away, Chris.
Thank you, Janice, and welcome, Horane. It's great to have entered the conversation with you this evening.
It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank you all for the opportunity.
Great. We know you're Jamaican, so tell us a little about your Jamaican roots.
Okay, I was born at a small village in southeastern St. Elizabeth called Yardley Chase, which happens to be the site of the famous attraction Lover's Leap. So I was born at that little area there, and 2,000 feet above sea level, overlooking the turquoise waters of the Caribbean Sea, and that is where I got my early influences in writing. But it's a small village, and maybe you won't find it on the map. You'll find Lover's Leap, but you won't find the Yardley Chase.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. And so what age did you start writing and got your imagination so spurred?
Well, I started a career in journalism in 1975. In fact, I worked in Jamaica for roughly 20 years as a journalist, working in television, radio, newspaper, magazines, and so forth. And my first novel was written in 1979. It's an unpublished work to date entitled The Village Queen. It has not been published, but I started with that novel. And it wasn't until around 20 years later, in 1999, that my first novel, Lover's Leap, based on a Jamaican legend, was published. But Lover's Leap was actually written in 1995. And it so happened that after living in Canada for 5 years, I took a trip back home, and I went to my favorite little spot, Lover's Leap, where I grew up with all the stories of the lovers, and so forth. And I got so inspired in seeing the place again after 5 years. Not, you were born there and you live there, but you don't see the beauty until you leave and then you come back. And I was really struck by that. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to put this in writing. And so that's how I got into this creative writing bit.
That's wonderful. Were there other mentors or other Jamaicans that have influenced your writing?
I wouldn't say Jamaicans. To be honest with you, in my early teen years, I was an avid reader of books. Some of you are familiar with the author Louis L'Amour. He writes a lot of westerns, and believe me, I was just and Zane Grey. I was just gobbling up those westerns like 3 per week. I just read. And I think even looking back at some of my writings now, and I look back at some of the styles I use and so forth, I realize I got a lot of influence from that writer.
That's wonderful. We want to congratulate you on your Burler Award. What does this mean to you?
Well, the Burler Award was a kind of stepping stone. I continue write, not really expecting awards. When I wrote Lover's Leap, one of my pledges was to get Jamaican stories out to the world. I kind of see myself as a silent and in the background ambassador for Jamaica. So I decided to say, you know what, Jamaica has a very, very rich culture and historical tourism that I see other countries such as Costa Rica promoting. I know we can do that in Jamaica. So I started with Lover's Leap, hoping to get people to notice this very, very beautiful place on earth. Of course, a lot of countries, in fact, most countries may have a Lover's Leap, but I think the one in Jamaica stands out among those. So I said, you know what, I'm going to get these stories out, beginning with Lover's Leap. Then I follow up closely with that on a novel called Port Royal. Again, a very, 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 very historic place, and some of your listeners might be aware that in the 17th century it garnered a reputation of being the most richest and wickedest city on earth, that little place. We've seen the Disney movies come out with Port Royal being the plot and so forth, and it's lying there dormant, almost asleep. So I wrote that novel with the intention of getting out these stories to the world.
Great. We may have some high school and college students in our audience. What can you say to them when you consider writing a novel that, if they have aspirations like you do, to inspire that imagination to be the next generation of great writers?
Well, that's a very good question, very topical question, because I for one, is very concerned about our generation of students, and as far as the literary aspect of our culture is concerned, because, you look around, you go on the bus, you travel on the plane, you're on the streets, you're in the mall, and all you can see is children on iPod and this and there, just texting, and I'm wondering how much time is being given to reading books.
Okay.
Books are the foundation of knowledge. And for those out there who have an aspiration to write, now, writing takes a great deal of discipline. I can tell you that. If you're not disciplined, you know how many people I've met who have told me, I've started this book and I've started that book and I just can't go anywhere. But it's something you have to put your mind to, and you have to have the discipline that, okay, I'm going to finish one book this year, and it's going to have 60,000 words. And I can tell you this, since I've been writing creatively in 1999, on an average, I write 2 books per year, because I set them as my task, and I say, you know what, I don't know when the writer's block is going to come, so I'm going to write them and I'm going to stockpile them. Right now, although I have 8 books that are published, I have a stockpile of books yet to be published, and those have accumulated over the years, but I just keep writing. But you have to get into that mode, that disciplinary mode, to say, I'm going to put my shoulders to the wheel, I'm going to get this done. So if there are any young people out there who have that desire to write, you have to make sure you have that discipline to get it done.
This is great. It's pretty extensive work. It takes a lot of discipline. How do you set out the scope? You said you try to write 2 books a year. Give us a sense of the scope of the effort that's included in producing a novel.
Well, first you choose the topics. I've written, of course, as the introduction mentioned, I've written on a variety of subjects. I don't see myself only as a historical fiction author. I also write contemporary fiction. So I try, lately what I'm trying to do is to kind of alternate the subjects. If I write historical fiction one at this juncture, then I'll write maybe a contemporary fiction at another. Right now I'm working on, I think, 3 books at one time. One of them is historical and the other 2 are contemporary fiction. So I look around and I choose subjects that I know are timeless. For example, the Lover's Leap story is timeless. The Port Royal story is timeless. The sequel I did to Lover's Leap, it's timeless. The Reggae Silver is timeless. So I do stories. 7 Days in Jamaica, which is about adventure tourism, is also timeless. So I do stories that I know that will not last for only 3 months on the bookshelves, as a lot of books often do, and they just disappear into oblivion. No, I write books that can hang around for a long time. And so when I choose a particular subject, what I normally do, I'll try and write it in a span of 6 months. The winter time, like now, is my writing time. That's when I usually hibernate in my little cell here in my basement, and it's like I'm into another world, and I write it, and I put it down, put it away, maybe for another 6 months, and then I go back again, and I look at it with a fresh perspective, and pretend as if I didn't write it. And so I'm able to improve on it the way I want it. And I tell you, you have to have perseverance. And I give you an example. Reggae Silver, one of my novels, the first chapter, or the first page of Reggae Silver was written 16 times. I wrote, rewrote, until I satisfy myself that this is what I want. So just to give you an example of how you have to persevere in this business. You can write a novel and it doesn't satisfy you, and you may have to go over it 3, 4, 5 times. And especially when you go to a publisher and the editor has suggestions, it may mean a revision another 4 or 5 times. So these are some of the things new writers have to realize. You have to bear in mind that if you're going to write, you have to have these expectations.
This is great. Let's plunge a little and look at your latest one, The Dawn of Lover's Leap. What are some of the takeaways that you'd like for readers to have after absorbing this work?
Okay, just a correction. The latest one is Marooned in Nova Scotia.
I'm sorry.
Dawn at Lover's Leap came, I think, in 2006. But I still comment on that. The Dawn at Lover's Leap, of course, was a sequel to Lover's Leap, which was it's done quite well, being a finalist in the USA Book News Best Book Awards, and naturally, people who read Lover's Leap had to read Dawn at Lover's Leap. It was not in my intention to write that book, but because of the overwhelming success of Lover's Leap, and people kept calling, asking when the sequel is going to come out, I decided to write that one. But let's take a step to the latest one, Marooned in Nova Scotia. Now here we have a situation in Canada where among the first black people to arrive in Canada were the Jamaican Maroons, the first deportees. Deportees is a very common word being used today, but the first deportees were the Maroons who were deported to Nova Scotia in 1796. 550 out of them, and they became among the first of the black people to live in North America. And here's a story lying around, and people weren't. When I told people that I was writing a book on the Maroons in Canada, they say, "What? Maroons in Canada? I've never heard of that." Even in Jamaica, people told me that. So I decided to unearth that story and to bring it to the forefront so that people can have these generations of, or current generation of children who are growing up without a sense of where our ancestors are coming from and the influence that Jamaica has had and continues to have on the international scene. So I decided to, you know what, this deserves to be in print.
This is great. One of the things that, since we live in a more image-based society than a literal society, the cover of the book becomes somewhat important in being a magnet to drawing people into the book. How do you go about the art and the graphics of a cover to evoke that kind of magnetism? I really love what you did with the image of Lover's Leap, and I thought that was good. Tell us a little about that part of the work.
Well, fortunately, all the 8 books I've published, the publishers have always asked for my input. That they always ask what I'd like to see on the cover. And the advantage I have in advising them is that naturally I know what that cover should look like, or I can envisage what that cover should look like, because of course I write the story. And there's a popular saying that you cannot really tell a book by its cover, but I want my books to be told by their covers. So I always try to give them a design that I know will be attractive to the eye. So, for example, like Lover's Leap, you look at the cover, you see two women and a man, and
right.
One black, and you see one white. Naturally, as you see that, there's some kind of friction there. And from the moment there's or controversy or some taboo there is about to be broken. So from the moment you see that, you're going to be interested in reading what this is all about. And and of course it's a legendary tale, and that makes it even more poignant for the readers to want to read that.
Well, that's great. One of the things I grew up when in school, and I wish I had your books, was Shakespeare. It was used as a powerful teaching tool. Could your work be used as such in schools?
My books, of course, and and I must tell you this, one of the disappointments I've had with my books, one of the few disappointments, when I had the launch in Lover's Leap in 1999, at the launch, there were so many teachers who came around to me and said, listen, we want to get this in the school. These are the books. Rather than getting Harry Potter for children to read, these are the books we want to get in school. And believe me, since that time, I've been trying unsuccessfully. I've sent at least a half a dozen copies to the Ministry of Education in Jamaica over the course of time on different occasions, because each administration or each new administrator of that division asked me to send in a copy for review, and I've done that. But I've never even yet had an acknowledgement from any one of them regarding that. And I think one day it will happen, but I'm still not giving up, because I know the value of Lover's Leap to the nation as a whole. In fact, people have told me that, listen, this is a Jamaican classic, and we really need to get it embedded in our youth, for them to discuss and look back at a period in time when love was forbidden. The love that we take for granted, being able to express love freely. No, there was a time when it was forbidden, and our children need to know about that time. So I'm still hoping that one day, people look at it in that positive light. And this recent development that I'm sure you're aware of, where Lover's Leap will be used as a study in a study case on mixed relations at the 10th International Conference on Social Sciences and Humanities. And this conference is sponsored by a prestigious journal, the Journal of International Humanities, and they have chosen Lover's Leap. Imagine that, Lover's Leap, to be used as a case study. So here we have the recognition coming from abroad, and in Jamaica, we still lapse in getting that recognition even in our schools.
It's the old proverb, sometimes a prophet doesn't even have honor within his own country.
Right, yes,
well,
yes.
Do you have a sense of the typical profile of your reader that absorbed this riveting work?
Yes, I've over the years I've had the responses. In fact, I keep a diary here, not really a diary, a scrapbook with email with people from all walks of life, all cultures, and I have to say, of course, the vast majority are usually ladies who read most of my books, and they seem to be interested not only because there's a romantic edge to, in most of the books, but I think because of the subjects I choose. For example, I know I'll use one of my books called 7 Days in Jamaica, which tells the story of a young man who grew up with overpossessive parents, and he wanted to take a new lease on life and go to Jamaica for 7 days to prove that he can go on his own. There has been a lot of very positive reaction from tourists who have gone to Jamaica and who have read that and have given me the feedback that, wow, this book has shown Jamaica in a new light, and perhaps one day I'll, go back or tell my friends about it. So that is one profile from a tourist. But one other thing I find out, too, is that in Jamaica, the people who read, for example, Lover's Leap or Port Royal or Reggae Silver, are those from the older school who probably will read a John Hearne novel or a V.S. Naipaul, that Trinidadian writer, or a Michael Anthony, and so
right.
there they have that affinity for that regional type of literature. And that is commendable, because I don't know if that's an endangered species, meaning those readers. But just in fact, just 2 weeks ago, I got an email from someone who read Lover's Leap, and she was searching the whole of Jamaica to find the sequel. And she said she had to read it because these are just the type of novels she likes to read. So the profile varies, I guess, from novel to novel.
One other way of getting the information into people's hearts and minds is maybe through repurposes, maybe in an audio or a movie. Are there any plans like that?
Well, to be honest with you, okay, the good news is that Lover's Leap, Underground to Freedom, Port Royal, Reggae Silver, and Dawn at Lover's Leap, they're now available on ebooks on Amazon Kindle and Barnes & Noble as well, and Smashwords.com. They've just been converted to that format, and in fact they're doing pretty well. They're selling much faster than the printed version now, so that is good. Lover's Leap, I've had 2 prospective offers already for people who are interested in getting Lover's Leap onto the big screen.
Right.
But the offers that came to me, they weren't suitable for me. I don't think I would have gained anything from it.
Right.
As if the other side would have made all the money, and I myself as a writer, I say, you know what, this could be my treasure, so I'm not going to really give it up. So I'm willing to wait until the right offer comes along.
Great. With this great content, I adore you for you to do that. So we know that they're more writing from the passion and imagination that you have. What can we expect from your pen in the future?
Okay, someone just asked me last week about that too in an interview. I know I'll have a book out this year. The challenge I have is which one to put out. I've just finished working on a novel called By the Rivers of Babylon, and I'm kind of doing some finishing touches to it, and I'm hoping that perhaps I'll probably get that one out this year. So that should be out in the fall. And I'm also working on another adventure-type tourism novel about a tourist going to Jamaica as well, on different circumstances. And I'm being prodded to finish the trilogy with Lover's Leap. Oh. And I'm really, really thinking seriously of doing that one. Now that Lover's Leap has gotten this international push at the Humanities Conference, I'm thinking of doing the third one in the series. So the ideas are going around in my head. In fact, I think I have a very good plot with it, because the original Lover's Leap was set in the 1830s.
Uh-huh.
And then we have, of course, in 1865 in Jamaica with the Morant Bay Rebellion, a lot of things going on there. So my mind, I'm just wrestling with those ideas around that period between 1865 and the turn of the century to see how I could work on the third in the series of Lover's Leap series.
So where do you go to do research? Do you?
Okay, I do my research. Like for example, Lover's Leap is not love. I didn't have to do any research on Lover's Leap, basically because I grew up with all the stories concerning Lover's Leap. Right. As a boy, I was told the stories by my grandparents and the different versions. Having learned about 4 different versions of Lover's Leap, Fortunately, I was able to include all four, some aspects of all four in the book, Lover's Leap. So that was commendable. But for novels like Marooned in Nova Scotia and Port Royal, I had to do research, go to the libraries, go into Jamaican archives and Jamaican books and so forth. And the research does take up a lot of time. I can tell you that, because you have to cipher through information, pick what you want, and of course you write in fiction, but at the same time you want to be historical accurate. So you try to because anybody can take up any one of my books and read, and although it's fiction, you can learn a lot that is historical fact. So I try to maintain that. So if I'm going to write a contemporary fiction, I know I don't have to do a lot of research, but from the moment it's a historical fiction, yes, I have to spend some time and do research.
That's great. Well, fine. Tell us again, Horane, how our audience can get access to all your fine work.
Okay, in the United States, I know the way the Internet now, the way to buy books now, the easiest way is the Internet. So on Amazon.com, they have all my books. 6 of them are in e-book format, and the rest are in print. I also have an e-commerce site, www.horanesmith.com. You can order from there using PayPal services. And the good thing about that is that you can get them autographed when you order through my site. BarnesandNoble.com, they also have all of my books. And in fact, if you go to any major online bookseller, you'll get any of my books. They're always available there.
Great, and I'm telling people also, as they buy and read your book, please leave a review on these sites. They're very helpful to you. Leave reviews on the site.
Right. Yeah. And Amazon, I think Amazon has reviews on most of these books. And if you go to my site, you can get a little more details about each one of these books. It kind of give you a synopsis of what the books are about.
So repeat that website again for us.
Okay, it's www.horanesmith.com, HORANE Smith.com. You can order using PayPal services. You can get them autographed if requested, and they will be mailed to you. They will be mailed to you more than likely from somewhere in the United States, because the distributors are there. There might be cases where they're made from Canada, but they're printed right there in the United States and they're distributed. You can go to Amazon.com, and they're also available there. I know all over the world people might be listening. You can get them on Amazon UK, Amazon France, Amazon Japan, Amazon Germany, all of those Amazon sites. Amazon in Canada as well. You can also get them on www.barnesandnoble.com, www.smashwords.com, and just about, as I said earlier, any online bookseller you can get access. You can make purchase.
That's wonderful. So, Horane, we want to thank you for your dedication, for your genius, for your imagination, and we look forward for more great things from your pen in the near future.
Yes, I appreciate the time you've taken as well to allow me to, talk about the books and let our generation, or the generation of Jamaican people, children, especially children of Jamaican descent who are growing up now, or Caribbean descent, just to get a peep into some of the literary resources that we have available. Stop for a moment and get off the iPod or the BlackBerry for a while and get into a good book and read, because reading, that's where all the knowledge is, and I really want our young people to take that very seriously, especially during Black History Month. My books, for example, Underground to Freedom, which is about the Underground Railroad when slaves escaped from the U.S. to Canada, I have a book on that. I also have a book on the Maroons, again, Black History. Lover's Leap is Black History. Port Royal dealt with an aspect of slavery that is hardly touched in the Caribbean. I mean, we know Port Royal as a pirate city, but Port Royal was also the major slave auctioning center in the Western Caribbean. My novel touches on that as well. So it brings out all of these hidden realities of the past. So, I urge people to, even if you're not going to read them, parents, even if you're not going to read them, buy them for your children.
Exactly. Buy them for the generation that are history can be a legacy for all of us.
Right.
Okay, and also if you want to learn about Horane, Jamaican, HoraneSmith.com, also JamaicanDiaspora.com, and if to learn about Chris's blog, it's Jamaicans.com, and his blog is called Me Thinking Are You?
Thanks so much.
Okay, and thanks again. I appreciate it very much. And keep up.
Fall fashion's in full swing, and it's time to save big at Old Navy. Right now, get up to 50% off store-wide on your favorite dresses, pants, and tops. Plus, all jeans are on sale from $15 now at Old Navy. Valid 9/23 to 10/2, select styles only.